voice talking about the case. After a few minutes, he got suspicious. He hung up. He called me back. He said, "Hani, was that you?" And I said, "I don't know what you're talking about." This is a phone call. This is somebody modulating their voice to sound like me to extract highly sensitive information in a criminal case. And I remember when that happened, I went to my wife, Emily, and I said, "Yeah, we're going to need a passcode." And by the way, that's not being weird or paranoid. We have seen these things happening to families where they get calls saying, "Your kid has been hurt. You need to send money." CEOs are losing tens of millions of dollars because they're on calls with who they think is their chief financial officer, and they're transferring money when they're not. So the ability not just to create fake explosions, but to steal people's identity, their likeness, is now at people's fingertips thanks to AI.
Well, things got pretty dark for you. As you said to Emily one night, she said, "Is this because you can't tell just by looking anymore?" And you said, "Because nobody can. Every image I see, I'm drawing lines for shadows, doing geometry in my head." You know, those skills that you have used as an expert to see if something's real. It's over. Within a year or two, our whole visual system will be utterly useless.
I do think that's true. The fact is that we've been going down this path for a while. Before there was AI, social media was distorting reality and truth because of the way the algorithms selectively provide information to you to keep you clicking. So already our sense of reality and truth and shared reality was being distorted. And I think AI is amplifying an existing problem. And of course, the external politics and the polarization that we have is exacerbating that.
You give an example of people in another country deep faking a job interview in the U.S. to take a remote job that they then take the paycheck for and apply it to that country's nuclear program.
This is the North Korean imposters, a multi-billion-dollar a year industry. Almost every Fortune 500 company has, whether they know it or not, hired one or more North Korean. And two things are happening. Yes, this is how they are fueling the government. Also, it is being used to steal intellectual property. We're seeing other kinds of scams, too, where people are paying people to do technical interviews for them and then getting a job offer, and then somebody else completely different shows up for work. And they're getting the signing bonus. They'll collect the check for 6 months until they get fired, and they move on to the next one.
I just want to mention Emily Cooper, who your wife, who again focuses on 3D perception. And I'm reading in this really deep take on you guys in the New York Times. She and her colleagues are worried about a crisis in her field, people spending more time indoors staring at screens and less time looking at the horizon, which means that's sometimes causing the eyeball to permanently elongate. And that means blurred vision, skyrocketing rates of myopia, an increasing risk of eye disease, and an impending epidemic of preventable blindness that they're calling a public health crisis.
Yeah. 20 years from now, we are going to see phenomenal problems with people's vision because we have not thought carefully about how we deploy these technologies. Now, look, there's some signs of hope. Australia recently passed a ban on social media for kids under the age of 16. Some European countries are doing the same thing. I think there is this realization, but I think that the question is, can we slow it down? And the problem is that you are now looking at trillion-dollar companies with phenomenal power and global reach, and regulating that is incredibly difficult.
Did you just kind of talk yourself out of a business? You know, because if you're saying, I can't do it. I mean, I know you're still answering emails from all these clients who are desperate to find out.
So here's the thing. What worries me about our inability to visually tell real from fake is what it means globally for digital citizens. In many ways, it helps real. Because it means you have to rely on the math and the computation. So what's bad for the world is good for get real. But that doesn't give me a lot of comfort, honestly. I genuinely worry about this. But I do still believe that the technology we are developing can distinguish real from fake. What's difficult about that technology, it has to work incredibly fast because the internet works at a speed that is unimaginable. So it can't be that a video goes online, gathers 1 million views, a reporter sees it, sends it to me, we figure it out, we do the fact check, they write the correction, 10 hours have gone by, it has 10 million views, and reality has set in. And that's where the challenge is.
So the lie circles the globe 3 times as fast as the truth.
Before the truth can put its pants on.
Right. Former UC Berkeley professor, now Dartmouth professor, Hani Farid, co-founder of the image analysis and digital forensics company Get Real Security, considered by many the top deepfake expert in the world, but no longer using his own eyes. Hani, thank you.
Very nice to talk to you, Robin.
It's here and now.
If you visit this station's website, you can stay on top of local elections, find out about your town's culinary scene, maybe even nod your head to a new Tiny Desk performance. And it's listener donations that help make everything you watch, read, and hear from this station happen. I'm E. Martinez. Donate your unwanted vehicle to this station, and the next time you're scrolling through stories in the coffee shop, you can blurt out, "Hey, my car did that," to the surprise of everyone sitting around you. Here's how.
Go to radioiq.org and click the vehicle donation banner at the top of the page.
On the next Fresh Air, writer Rachel Aviv spent years reporting stories about other people's mothers and daughters. Then she became a mother herself, went back to her own work, and saw everything she'd missed. One story she'd told as a daughter who vanished, she saw again as a mother who never stopped searching. Her new book is called You Won't Get Free of It. Join us.
Tune in for Fresh Air, Monday through Thursday at 2 p.m. on Radio IQ.
Funding for Here and Now comes from the listeners of WBUR Boston and from MathWorks, creator of MATLAB and Simulink, to design and develop engineered systems, accelerating the pace of discovery in engineering and science. Learn more at mathworks.com. And City Space Productions, WBUR's creative studio for custom podcasts that tell a brand's story to ignite engagement, reach new audiences, or establish thought leadership. WBUR.org/creative studio.
It's here and now. There's a term in biology called the extinction vortex. It's when the population of a certain plant or animal gets so small that it becomes more vulnerable. Individuals become more susceptible to disease. Isolation can lead to inbreeding, and the species spirals further down. NPR's Nate Rott has the story of one species on that precipice of extinction, and he tells us about an immense effort to pull them out.
There's really no point in trying to keep your feet dry.
There's a good log out here if you want to come around and do a little balancing act.
Even though Nicole DeRouge says this is what typically qualifies in the Florida Panhandle as a dry pond.
I was explaining this to a friend recently. I'm like, oh, I'm in a pond. And she's like, so are you soggy? And I'm like, nope, it's a dry pond.
An ephemeral pond that's a little soggy on this day because of rains the night before. It's the perfect place, DeRouge says, as she starts running her fingers through damp grass to look for salamander eggs.
I mean, I'm not a salamander, but if I was, I would lay eggs right there.
DeRouge is an ecologist with Amphibian and Reptile Conservancy, ARC for short. It's a nonprofit. And the amphibian she's looking for, or its eggs rather, belong to the frosted flatwoods salamander, a secretive ground-dwelling species that, to DeRouge's mind, have really
gotten the fuzzy end of the lollipop in terms of habitat destruction and habitat fragmentation and just a suite of challenges that they're facing.
Frosties, as they're lovingly called, are a federally threatened species. They live in the longleaf pine forests of the southeastern U.S., forests that have been razed, logged, and deprived of natural wildfires to the point where today only 3% of them remain intact. Layer that loss of habitat with strengthening hurricanes, shifting weather patterns, and a rapidly changing climate, and the Frosties,
they just need enough time to catch up.
Enough time to adapt. Crawling in the brush, DeRouge is trying to buy them that time.
It's just like the world's itchiest scavenger hunt, interspersed with periodic little injections of serotonin when you find something fun.
Something fun being eggs.
Oh, there you are. Hi, guys.
Oh, wow.
Just looked like a little drop of water down here.
Yeah.
Some little goo. This is a pretty big cluster. There's probably 12 or 15 eggs in this cluster.
And they're coming with us.
Most important tool of egg collection.
A spoon.
I'm holding a tablespoon. Yep. We scoop them out of the ground.
Left in the wild, DeRouge says maybe 1% of these eggs will reach juvenile adulthood.
They'll be eaten by crayfish and snakes and birds and fish and everything, which is great because they're contributing to the food web. But also, there's not enough of them for 99% of them to get eaten.
So to boost their odds, she's taking the eggs miles away to a place where they have a better chance of survival. her backyard.
This is like taking home aquarium life to a whole new level.
Yeah. I'm glad that I build things for fun because this was quite the endeavor.
A woodshed she built for home projects now stores eggs. Behind it, rows of cattle tanks fill a clearing between trees, each containing a miniature wetland, complete with water, plants, and macroscopic food that Derouge and her colleagues have collected in the wild.
So we'll put them in here, feed them the tiny food at first, and then as they get bigger, we give them more and more big food.
Ensuring that as many of them as possible make it through their vulnerable youth to adulthood.
Our ultimate goal in species recovery is to put these animals back on the landscape, and in order to do that, you need animals.
This technique of raising an animal in captivity and releasing it is called head starting. It was used to save the California condor, and is used for many other imperiled species, and it's a good last resort, says Carol Haas, an ecologist at Virginia Tech who's working to recover a closely related salamander species. But she also says,
anytime you rear something in a tank, you're selecting for captivity. And the characteristics that make you good at surviving in a tank may be the exact opposite of the characteristics that make you good at surviving in the wild.
Instead, she thinks conservation efforts should focus on improving habitat by reintroducing wildfires to longleaf pine forests and physically removing vegetation.
If the habitat restoration doesn't happen, then nothing can persist.
JJ Apodaca is the executive director of ARC, and he agrees that habitat protection and restoration is critical for all species. But for the frosties?
In my opinion, there's zero chance the species makes it out of that, just naturally sort of recovers itself if we just fix the habitat.
Apodaca thinks by necessity, the field of conservation biology needs to enter a new era. With climate change and so many imperiled species in need of help, it's not enough to just protect land or make a new national park.
That's important, but it's only part of the way. And so I think to get that next step, we've got to do a lot more implementation, direct species interaction.
Direct species interventions like head starting. Back in the Flatwoods, Derouge says in drought years like this, it can sometimes feel overwhelming. But she compares it to the story of the kid walking down a beach, throwing stranded starfish back into the ocean.
And an old man comes up to him and is like, there's a million starfish down this beach. This is what you're doing doesn't matter. And the little kid looks at him and picks up a starfish and throws it into the ocean and says, it matters to that one.
Just like it matters, she says, to each salamander they are able to save. Nate Rott, NPR News, the Florida Panhandle.
Here and Now is a production of NPR and WBUR. I'm Indira Lakshmanan.
I'm Robin Young. This is Here and Now.
Funding for Here and Now comes from the listeners of WBUR Boston and Four Wall Entertainment, providing lighting, audio, and video for events, theaters, and venues nationwide and around the world. Fourwall.com. Large enough to service, small enough to care.
Great businesses understand that reputation matters. That's why aligning with Radio IQ means more than exposure. It's about association. When your name is heard alongside award-winning journalism and thoughtful cultural coverage, you're making a statement about who you are and what you value. The right audiences notice. The right partnerships last. Explore corporate sponsorship by emailing WVTF corporate support at vt.edu.
Ever hear a fascinating story on Radio IQ and wish you could share it with a friend? Well, now you can with the Radio IQ app, where you can also keep up with breaking news and the top stories of the day. Download the Radio IQ app today.
You're listening to Radio IQ on WVTF Roanoke, WRIQ Charles City Richmond, WVTU Charlottesville, WVTW Charlottesville, WVTR Marion, WISE FM Wise, WQIQ Spotsylvania, WIUR Lexington, WEHC Emory, HD3 of WURV Richmond, and on 92.5 Richmond and 94.9 Fredericksburg. Radio IQ, a listener-supported community service of Virginia Tech, on your smart speaker and online at radioiq.org.
Fresh Air with Terry Gross is underwritten by the Davis H. Elliott Company, providing energy delivery services to utility and government partners since 1946. The Davis H. Elliott Company.
Good afternoon and welcome to the 2:00 p.m. session of the Roanoke City Council. And I'll ask our clerk, Ms. Susie McCoy, to please call the roll.
Powers. Here. Mr. Hagan.
Here.
Ms. Sanchez Jones. Here. Vice Mayor McGuire.
Here.
Mr. Nash.
Here.
Mr. Volleson.
Here.
And Mayor Cobb.
Here, and a quorum is present. It's my honor to welcome the Reverend Jeff Wilson, pastor at Genesis United Methodist Church, who will lead us in our invocation. I will follow that by leading us in the Pledge of Allegiance. And before we do that, I'm going to ask us to honor the memory of two people in a moment of silence. So would you please stand? First of all, I'd like for us to remember and honor the memory of Mayor Frank Friedman, Mayor of Lexington, our neighbor who passed away unexpectedly this last week, and also Coach Al Holland, whom many people in our community know and love, beloved coach in our community. He passed away on July 4th. So let's take a moment of silence to remember and honor these two people.
Let's pray. So gracious God, we come today and we're just days away from celebrating as a nation the 250th anniversary. And with that, we pause and we remember all the freedom that you've given us, all the blessings that so often, to be honest, God, we just take for granted. In fact, sometimes we misuse some of those blessings. But God, here in this space, we are reminded that you have blessed us, in particularly by giving us this place we call the Valley. A place where we come and many of us work and raise our kids. And so there's such a beautiful place. And God, we just thank you for it. And as we pause today, we give you thanks for these leaders. And we ask that you continue to speak to their hearts and guide them. Because just as we're reminded with these moments we pause, our life is so precious. And so we need to make the most of each opportunity that you place before us each day. And so give them wisdom to guide, ears to hear, hearts that are open to do your will. God, we pray this through the one that called us and loves us. Amen.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Reverend Wilson. I invite Councilmember Nash to certify our closed meeting.
I move, with respect to any closed meeting just concluded, that each member of City Council in attendance certify to the best of his or her knowledge that 1, only public business matters lawfully exempted from open meeting requirements under the Virginia Freedom of Information Act, and 2, only such public business matters as were identified in any motion by which any closed session meeting was convened were heard, discussed, and considered by members of council in attendance.
Thank you, Councilmember Nash. Do I have a second?
Second.
Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Ms. Powers.
Aye.
Mr. Hagan.
Aye.
Ms. Sanchez Jones.
Aye.
Vice Mayor McGuire.
Aye.
Mr. Nash.
Aye.
Mr. Volleson.
Aye.
And Mayor Cobb.
Aye, and the motion is adopted. The Council of the City of Roanoke is seeking applications for various vacancies on council-appointed authorities, boards, commissions, and committees. For those interested in serving on any of those bodies, please access the city's website at roanokeva.gov to complete an online application, or you may call our clerk's office at 853-2541 or visit their office Monday through Friday, 8 to 5. We're going to move now into our presentations and acknowledgments, and as we do at our 2 o'clock meetings, invite our council members to give shout outs for things of note that we've been able to celebrate in the life of our community between our city council meetings. And so I'm going to shake it up, start with our vice mayor today.
Well, thank you, Mayor. I will give a shout out to everyone that helped us celebrate the 4th of July holiday, from our Parks and Rec staff, our public safety employees, and then all of the local businesses and neighborhoods that were involved. I had a really nice weekend. I had to work all weekend, but there were a lot of people that I saw out enjoying, even with the heat, which was pretty oppressive. I know a lot of people had a really good time, so I appreciate everyone that celebrated the holiday in a safe way, and thanks to those that didn't get themselves into too much trouble, and just really enjoyed celebrating the 250th. Thank you.
My shout out goes to the city manager's office and our communications department for all the work that they did in putting together and ensuring that we won for the 9th time the All America City Award. So thank you, everybody. That I know you guys worked very hard. So thank you very much for that.
Ditto what's already been said, but also shout out to Animal Control from RPD. They rescued, I believe, a couple of dogs that were in hot cars over the weekend. Some of y'all may recall a while back I had made mention about, hey, make sure that you all don't leave your car or your animals in your car, especially with this heat. So that's good to see that they were able to rescue those. So shout out to them.
Yeah. I want to start by shouting out as well as all the folks that helped make sure that our 4th of July celebration was, number one, safe, but also enjoyable. And I also want to just shout out all those who are operating the cooling centers here around town in our community. And I want to use this also as an opportunity just to make sure to educate the public. And I would ask everyone to share that as of last year, it's illegal for utility companies to turn off water or electricity when there's a 24-hour notice that the heat is going to be above 92 degrees. And in the wintertime, if it's going to be below freezing, utility companies are not allowed to turn off your gas or your electricity for your heating. And so please make sure that we're looking out for our neighbors, we're watching each other's back, and if you know of any of that type of behavior going on, make sure you're contacting the utility companies and letting them know that you know the law and you know that what they're doing is illegal. Thank you.
Councilmember Volleson.
So my council member shout out is to Ms. Sanchez Jones, and it's for your participation in the All America City Award. I really appreciate you going and doing the presentation. I also want to thank our staff that was out there as well, and thank you to Robin Mitchell. I can't remember his position, but Captain Underwood. Yeah,
Officer Underwood.
Officer Underwood. And everybody else that was there that made this possible. When I got on council 3 years ago, I always thought it was funny that Mayor Lee used to say, we're this 8-time All-American city. And now we get to say it's 9-time, and I understand why he did it. So I really, congratulations to everybody that was part of those programs that helped us win that 9th recognition.
Councilwoman Powers.
Sure. Ditto to all the way down to the right of me, but also I'd like to do a big shout out to our Berglund Center. We had 54 young ladies come to the Civic Center to participate in the Miss Virginia and the Miss Virginia Teen pageant. So we just crowned Miss Virginia Maddie Marchant, who's from Lebanon, Virginia, and Miss Virginia Teen Caden Riddle. The Civic Center did a phenomenal job. They had stuff there all week long. So Thursday, Friday, Saturday, the Civic Center was full. And then I'd like to thank Doctors Nancy and Kevin, is that his name, Da? They had a wonderful dinner for all the young girls up at their home, and we got to see the beautiful view of Roanoke. And so thank all the city workers that prepared this week as we had all of those families here in the city of Roanoke, in our city. And I kept hearing all along how beautiful the star was And they were like, oh, I wish I was going to be here. They heard that it was going to be red, white, and blue on the 4th. So I said, well, you can always come back. But thank you very much for everything that the city did for that program.
Thank you. Just to echo everything that was said, I especially want to encourage anyone who hasn't been able to watch the presentation that our team gave in Denver to look for the Sunday morning presentations and take time, about 20 minutes. Just take some time to really listen to the stories that they told about our city, the things that are working, the differences that these efforts are making in the lives of people. And also watch the judges, the jurors' engagement and their reaction. Their energy level and excitement about the presentation was palpable. And I think sometimes it's one thing to convey appreciation for the work that went into it, but when you see the efforts of that, and maybe we can find a way to just pull that segment out and share it through community engagement. I think it's really worth everyone taking a look at. The other thing I'd like to do is thank Angela Vernon and Mia Bella Mia Bella, I can't remember your last name. Weary. For their work in helping me prepare for the Mayor's Institute on City Design. I was able to go to Nashville a week ago to join 6 other mayors from different parts of the nation to share both challenges and opportunities that each of us are facing, and to have a panel of leading architects, visionaries, workers on justice, to just really look at our designs and how to be both equitable and efficient in the things that we're working on in our cities. It was an incredible experience, co-hosted by the U.S. Conference on Mayors and the National Endowment for the Arts. But I wanted to thank both of you, especially for your help in getting me prepared for that. So thank you all. All right, I'm going to invite Laura Riley to join me at the podium for a proclamation celebrating Parks and Rec Month. And Angie. And then I'm going to ask all of the Parks and Rec people to just come on up. Oh, and our manager. Everybody come on up. We're going to end up there for a picture in a little bit, okay? Whereas Parks and Recreation promotes health and wellness, improving the physical and mental health of people who live near parks. Whereas Parks and Recreation promotes time spent in nature, which positively impacts mental health by increasing cognitive performance and well-being and alleviating illnesses such as depression, attention deficit disorders, and Alzheimer's. Whereas Parks and Recreation encourages physical activities by providing space for popular sports, hiking trails, swimming pools, and many other activities designed to promote active lifestyles. Whereas Parks and Recreation is a leading provider of healthy meals, nutrition services, and education. Whereas Parks and Recreation programming and education activities, such as out-of-school time programming, youth sports, and environmental education, are critical to childhood development. Whereas Parks and Recreation increases a community's economic prosperity through increased property values, expansion of the local tax base, increased tourism, the attraction and retention of businesses, and crime reduction. Whereas Parks and Recreation is fundamental to the environmental well-being of our community. Whereas Parks and Recreation is essential and adaptable infrastructure that makes our communities resilient in the face of natural disasters and climate change. Whereas our parks and natural recreation areas ensure the ecological beauty of our community and provide a place for children and adults to connect with nature and recreate outdoors. Now, therefore, I, Joseph L. Cobb, Mayor of the City of Roanoke, encourage all citizens to engage in active living, to find rejuvenation and vitality, and do hereby proclaim the month of July 2026 throughout this great 9-time All-America City as Parks and Recreation Month. Thank you all.
Thank you, Mayor and City Council members, for recognizing July as Parks and Recreation Month. We appreciate your continued support for our parks, greenways, recreation centers, and the dedicated staff and volunteers who work every day to provide a high-quality recreational opportunities and protect our natural resources for the Roanoke community. I'd like to turn it over to Angie O'Brien, who is serving currently as our acting Parks and Rec Director.
Thank you. I just want to make sure, I can't turn around and look at you all, so I apologize. So as we celebrate Parks and Recreation Month, I want to take a moment to recognize each of you for the work you do every day. While our community enjoys the beautiful parks, the well-maintained trails, the vibrant recreation centers, the fun programs, and special events, they don't always see the dedicated people behind all of that. And you are the reason these spaces and experiences are all possible. And you should find great pride in that. Whether you are mowing parks before sunrise, leading our summer camps, maintaining our greenways, planning community events, caring for our athletic fields, maintaining our facilities, keeping them running, or supporting the departments behind the scene, your work makes a real difference in people's lives. You create spaces where families gather, where children learn and play, neighbors connect, and visitors experience the very best of Roanoke. The past year has brought a share of challenges, and you've continued to meet them with professionalism, creativity, and commitment to public service. Your willingness to adapt, solve problems, and support one another is something I truly appreciate, as I know our organization does as well. One thing that often goes unmentioned is that I want to thank your families. Public service often means early mornings, late evenings, weekends, holidays, and responding when our community needs us most. Their support allows you to do this important work. I'm incredibly proud of this department and honored to serve along with you right now. Thank you for everything you do to make Roanoke healthier, more active, more attractive, and more connected community. The impact you have extends far beyond our parks and facilities. You help improve the quality of life for everyone who calls Roanoke home. So thank you all.
Yeah, I want all of you to introduce yourself. I know this is going to take a minute. This is really important because our departments, all of our departments, work together to make our city be the best it can. And to know who you all are, the dedication, so much of the fight work. So if you would just come up, introduce yourself and what you do in the department, that would be great. And then just make your way up here and we'll take a picture. Before we do introductions, though, I want to ask council, because I always forget this part, if any of you have comments you'd like to share with this team.
I would just like to say thank you for the work you do. Now that I am semi-retired, I get to drive a lot around the city. I see each of you out in our parks doing your work, and you do such a great job, and I just appreciate what you do for the city of Roanoke and our citizens. Thank you.
As we were talking about the recognition today, I was thinking about my time growing up in Roanoke and the parks and how they had an impact on my life. And so I want to say thank you for having that impact on the kids of today and continuing that tradition of making sure that kids have an outlet, that everybody has an outlet to be to exercise, to be healthy, both mentally and physically. You guys do an amazing job. You guys really punch above your weight, and so I really appreciate all that you do.
I would say thank you.
You ladies first.
Thank you so much for everything you do. I'm really proud to have you guys on our team. So thank you for all the work you've done.
Yeah, thank you. You really do punch above your weight, and I think that our parks and amenities, our outdoor recreation opportunities, we have a lot of things to be really proud of and grateful for in Roanoke, but I really think our parks and outdoor resources set us apart, and I know that that takes a lot of work and resources to upkeep, so I Really appreciate all of you, especially, not especially, but including urban forestry, which I think a lot of people forget is housed within Parks and Rec. So thank you all very much. I hope that we can get you more resources. You do so much with so little, and it's really impressive. Thank you.
Yeah, that's a hard act to follow. Thank you all for everything you all do. It is really meaningful, and we really do appreciate it. I know plenty of people specifically choose to live in Roanoke because of our outdoor amenities, our parks, everything. So thank you all tremendously.
Thank you. All right. Good afternoon. My name's Caleb Varney. It's actually my third week here with Roanoke City Parks. So very happy to be here, and to my colleagues that I haven't had the pleasure of meeting yet, I'm looking forward to it. So.
I'm William Gillenwater. I work for Greenway. I'm a maintenance technician, so if you're out there on a bike or riding around, I'm happy to be there and help y'all out.
Good afternoon. I'm Renee Powers. I am the Trails and Greenways Coordinator, so I oversee our greenways, blueways, natural surface trails, and our park cleaning crews.
I'm Kathleen Walton. I'm Community Rec. I'm trips and tours, the fun stuff out there at the mansion, programming.
I'm Danielle Wagner, Planning Coordinator, also newer to the city. Excited to be here.
Hi everyone, I'm River Jones. I'm the event supervisor. I work under Tim Paulette Thomas, and we just hosted the Freedom Festival event, which went flawless. We had a great crowd come out. I also oversee the daily operations on Mill Mountain and the Discovery Center. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Michael Huseman. I'm the Landscape Management Coordinator, so I take care of all the grass and flowers around the city in the parks.
Good afternoon. I'm Austin Shaw. I am a maintenance tech on the Trails and Greenways team as well.
Hi, good afternoon. My English is not good. A little bit. My name is Inocencio Gonzalez. I work for Greenway. Thank you.
I'm Katie Slusher. I'm the park project manager over planning, construction, and development projects.
Good afternoon. I'm Debbie Woodbury, and I'm the Recreation Services Manager, and I have the pleasure of overseeing the wonderful Recreation Services team.
Good afternoon. Thank you. Good afternoon. I'm Alana Salsgood. I'm an athletic supervisor here, and I oversee youth programs, adult programs, and field reservations.
Good afternoon. I'm Jason Harrison. I'm the interim athletic coordinator. I oversee Atlantis, overseeing everything she just said she oversees.
Good afternoon. My name's Hunter Eaton, and I'm currently the acting tree inspector. So if you have any tree concerns, you're likely to see or hear from me, or both.
Hey y'all, I'm Kat Andrew. I'm the Outdoor Recreation Coordinator. I manage all the outdoor activities, hiking, biking, caving, climbing, and adventure summer camps.
Hey, I'm Tim Paulette Thomas, Events Coordinator for Parks and Rec, and I oversee all internal and external events in all of our parks.
Hi, I'm Irina. I'm the Outdoor Rec Supervisor. I plan adventures for a living.
George Banks, Parks and Recs. I'm O Parks.
Hi, Ellie Rigby, Park Management Coordinator, oversee maintenance and playgrounds and ball fields and special events.
Andrew Watts, I'm Maintenance Technician 4 over park cleaning, so I have crews, me and my crews clean all the bathrooms and the some 70 parks that we have.
Hello, everyone. I'm Vicki Briggs, and I'm the rental supervisor for the special events, and also help out with the special events that we have among the city of Roanoke, and it's good to be here.
By the way, Vicky's got over 40 years with the city. I know you're 29. I'm Bill West. I'm the Urban Forestry Coordinator, so I handle all of the city's trees on public lands.
So I know that we're going to have to squeeze in. So why don't some of you go behind that rope to fill in there, that maybe the taller folks. Squeeze in as much as we can. All right.
It's okay.
Everybody look at me. 1, 2, 3. I noticed a number of them, of our employees looking up at the screen and, yes, it's live and can be shared with relatives, right? All right, before we move into our hearing of citizens upon public matters, we have a matter of business coming from our closed meeting earlier, and it's an ordinance, and I need a motion and a second on the ordinance.
Move the ordinance.
Second.
All right, Council members Volleson and Hagan. And Madam Clerk, will you please read the title paragraph?
An ordinance repealing ordinance number 43378-042026, adopted April 20th, 2026, that allowed the encroachment of gunshot detection devices known as Raven sensors to be installed at various locations in the public right-of-way through the city of Roanoke in its entirety.
Thank you. Ms. Turner, I'm going to turn to you for a statement, then I'll follow that with some following comments.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, Vice Mayor, and members of City Council. The City of Roanoke has concluded the internal investigation that I ordered regarding the installation of the gunshot detection devices. The internal investigation revealed that the list of locations approved by City Council differed from the original project plan list used for installations. The installation list was developed using local gunshot statistical data and was approved by the Roanoke Police Department and the transportation team. When the City Council ordinance was drafted in April using the plan set list, data entry errors resulted in mistype of sensor locations that contained misspelled and incorrect addresses. This internal process breakdown has been fully addressed. When the discrepancies were discovered, I ordered an immediate stop to installations and removal of devices. To date, 80% of the installed devices have been removed. The sensors are inactive, and we anticipate full removal of all devices by the end of the week. Our goal in accepting the 2-year federal burn grant for this technology was to enhance the Roanoke Police Department's response to gunfire and improve public safety. Unfortunately, a preventable city process failure resulted in a rollout that fueled distrust about our use of public safety technology and entangled the city of Roanoke in the larger national privacy debate. We have taken the following corrective steps. Gunshot sensor installation and activation activity is suspended and will not be revisited unless directed by City Council. All installed devices are expected to be completely removed by the end of the week, and the city is independently verifying each removal. Staff is completing a full reconciliation of the ordinance, permit records, plan documents, coordinates, field locations, and contract requirements. This unfortunate process error has damaged public trust, and I am working to rebuild it through accountability, corrective action, transparency, and stronger controls. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Turner. And I will follow that before we have discussion by council. I appreciate the manager's work on this as well as your team. It is unfortunate and extremely disappointing that we've arrived at this moment. For the last 8 years, as a member of this council, I've seen this council take very seriously the matter of gun violence reduction in our community, and we've seen significant progress made. There are many tools that we have access to help us do that, including technology. And for this particular tool, which I believe the majority of council supported as an opportunity to detect gunshots, to aid in further reduction of gun violence, and to save lives, to see this unfortunate rollout occur and the problems connected with it is extremely disappointing to all of us. Based on the findings of the city administration, we acknowledge that a human error was made and that appropriate action has been taken. And we also know there was a process in place for this not to have happened, but it did. Again, we're disappointed and frustrated by this matter, but this leads us to bring forward this ordinance and the opportunity for us to repeal the ordinance. I do appreciate the swift action taken by the manager and the administration, and I believe we're all committed to continuing to find ways with the use of technology as it is appropriate to help us further reduce gun violence in our community. So at that point, I will open this up for further discussion or comments from council.
We'd just like to repeat exactly what our mayor has just said and apologize to our citizens, as we thought we were doing something to help our community most vulnerable in areas where we do have a lot of gunshot. I'll just quickly share something with you of why I thought supporting this was good. My husband and I worked to help a gentleman that lives in the area where there has been a lot of gunshots. He became so scared he barely left his house. And he wouldn't even go out to take his trash out for fear of gunshots in his neighborhood. He has since not in the home now. And I can see the difference in how he lives and what he looks like and how he feels about being somewhere that he feels safe. This gentleman is 81 years old in a few weeks. So, you know, when I supported this, I thought we were doing something really good to help people that live in that kind of fear. And I'm just glad that we've found out this problem, and I'm sure that there are things in place that it will not happen again, and it is disappointing. But please know that there was never any malice when we voted to do this. So we've appealed it, and like the mayor said, I hope we can continue to find ways to make our citizens feel safe. Thank you.
Council members, Mr. Mollison.
I just want to say that I want to thank the city manager for the transparency and for the investigation immediately when this was found. It is unfortunate and disappointing, and these things do happen. But I also, I think the lack of trust, especially behind an issue like this, leads us to where we are today. But I do want to thank you for that transparency and openness about this, because that's always super important for us here on the city, is making sure that we know what happened, know the facts, and we learn from those.
Members. Mr. Hagan.
Yeah, thank you for doing all this very quickly. It's one of the things that I really did admire, and all stress as to how much. Okay, sorry, I cannot stress as to how much I've been impressed with you, your team, and how quickly you
All right, the matter is before us, and Madam Clerk, I believe we're ready to vote.
Ms. Powers?
Aye.
Mr. Hagan?
Aye.
Ms. Sanchez Jones? Vice Mayor McGuire?
Aye.
Mr. Nash?
Aye.
Mr. Volleson?
Aye.
Mayor Cobb?
Aye. And the ordinance to repeal is adopted. Thank you all. Now we will move into our hearing of citizens upon public matters. And council sets this time aside as a priority for citizens to be heard. All matters will be referred to the city manager for response, recommendation, or report to the council as she may deem appropriate. If you've not spoken during the hearing of citizens before, as you come up to the podium, the microphone is live. There's a box in the upper right-hand corner. Green means start, yellow means you have a minute left, and red means stop. If you're wrapping up, I'll work with you to wrap it up. Every speaker will have 3 minutes. Our clerk is going to call 2 speakers at a time. So the first name, come on up. The second, you'll follow that person. All right? Madam Clerk.
Have 7 speakers. The first 2, Ken McLeod and Casey Jones.
Of your statement. Yeah.
Welcome, Mr. McLeod.
Thanks for having me. Good afternoon, Mayor and members of Council. My name is Ken McLeod, and today I'm representing Pedal Safe Roanoke. Between 2019 and 2023, Roanoke averaged about 10 traffic deaths and roughly 60 serious injury crashes every year. In May, you did something that matters. You adopted a safety action plan, a speed management action plan, and an updated complete streets policy. And you set a goal: 0 traffic deaths and serious injuries in Roanoke by 2040. Today, I want to thank you for taking those actions and to talk about what turns those plans and policies into reality and what turns them into documents on a shelf. To accomplish the goal of 0 traffic deaths and makes the plans and policies that you adopted into reality will take 3 things: funding, accountability, and strategy. 0 traffic deaths is a long-term goal, and it will require long-term dedicated funding. Pedal Safe Roanoke believes this is best accomplished through a Vision Zero implementation line item and/or performance measure in the operating and capital budgets of this city, beginning next year, fiscal year 2027. A potential source of new funding aligned with the adopted plans is a school safety zone speed camera enforcement program, similar to those in the city of Richmond, Pulaski and Montgomery counties, and in over 45 communities throughout the state of Virginia, or Commonwealth. Civil penalties from school cameras can fund this program's operation, and remaining revenues can be dedicated to implementing street safety initiatives. Richmond, which is roughly 2.5 times the size of Roanoke, expects to generate $2 million for Vision Zero through speed camera enforcement this year. Revenues in Roanoke will depend on whether or not drivers obey the speed limit, and I hope that the camera program results in reductions in speeding. While camera enforcement is a good potential source of funding, a commitment to funding should not be dependent on continued poor driver behavior. The goal of 0 traffic deaths requires consistent progress and doing things differently. Pedal Safe Roanoke believes that it requires a system of accountability best accomplished through a public Vision Zero dashboard and an ongoing Vision Zero advisory body and annual progress report presented to this city council and to residents. If we don't measure it, we won't move it. The goal of 0 traffic deaths requires strategy. Pedal Safe Roanoke believes that the city would be well served by a strategy of leveraging local funding through grants, whether federal, state, or private. The city has done this successfully through the federal Safe Streets and Roads for All program, and to continue that success will require proactive planning, as the city has done by adopting the Safety Action Plan and Speed Management Plan. Aligning safety improvements with resurfacing projects is also a great proactive strategy. So I want to thank you for committing the city of Roanoke to being a city where people are not killed by motor vehicles on our streets. That decision was free. Keeping it won't be. So a dedicated safety line item is what is needed to keep moving things forward. And I hope you consider funding, accountability, and strategy to accomplish 0 traffic deaths. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. McLeod. And thank you for these remarks, too.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Casey Jones.
Casey Jones. All right, let's go on to the next 2.
Jack Left, followed by Brian McConnell.
Welcome, Dr. Leff.
Thank you so much, Mayor Cobb. Thank you, members of the council, city attorney, city manager, mayor, vice mayor. My name is Jack Leff. I'm a school teacher in the city, and I wanted to speak today to oppose certain elements of the rezoning amendment that is going to be voted on at 7 p.m. today, or heard at 7 p.m. today. I want to do it earlier because that's a little bit past my bedtime, sorry. Specifically, I oppose 4 specific parts that would decrease housing density in our city, driving up housing costs for renters and for first-time home buyers. Specifically, I'm opposed to increasing the minimum lot area per dwelling, decreasing the corner lot max amount of dwellings, requiring parking, which is a big issue, especially as you get closer to the city, and then also increasing the rear yard minimum depths. As a homeowner in Old Southwest, these changes affect me personally and would probably benefit me by increasing the value of my home when and if I choose to sell. However, I still encourage you to amend out these portions of the zoning amendment, as well as any others that decrease the amount of density we're able to build. Fundamentally, many of the issues that Roanoke faces are tied to unaffordability, and by decreasing housing density, by backing away from some of the incredible zoning amendment changes that were made a couple of years ago, it's going to make the city less affordable, not more affordable. And I say that even that direct cost to my own bottom line. What we do need, however, is strong oversight when it comes to these zoning changes. I think we saw that firsthand in Crystal Springs. We can't allow for a rerun of that or for further gentrification. So what we need are stronger oversight, which is not the same as red tape. We shouldn't make it difficult to build, but instead we just need to make sure we're playing an active role in managing our housing supply to keep it affordable, to keep Roanoke attractive. This is a nice segue to the second to last thing I want to talk about, which is data centers. I'm really excited to see some of these regulations in the zoning amendment around data centers. I think that they can go further, but I think they're a great start, especially the sections that require disclosing water usage and energy usage estimates, although I would caution against trusting a lot of these companies' figures on that. Lastly, I want to thank you for repealing Raven, which was really exciting, but I do want to correct the record a little bit because technologies like Raven as well as Flock don't actually reduce gun violence, as several members of the council said. By their definition, they detect gun violence after it occurs, trying to expedite emergency services. What does reduce gun violence, and this is well studied, are more funding for schools and education. That reduces gun violence. Greater food security for members of our community reduces gun violence. Medicaid support and access to health care reduces gun violence. More community programming reduces gun violence. Summer school programs reduces gun violence. Technologies like Flock and Raven, while sexy and appealing, do not reduce gun violence. They detect it after the fact and increase surveillance. So please revisit Flock and continue this good progress. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Dr. Leff. Mr. McConnell, welcome.
Good afternoon, Mayor Cobb, Madam City Manager, Legal Counsel, and City Council members. I'm here today to walk you through a very brief introductory overview of the most recently published installment of my Medium.com series of articles entitled Toward a Regenerative Global Democracy. This is about 6 months of work on my part to generate a 20-minute read. The overarching theme of sense-making or meaning-making is in an opening AI-informed statement contending, sorry, give me just a second here to the central failure of American governance is no longer ideological disagreement, but the erosion of our shared capacity to make sense of an increasingly complex post-truth world, and to do that together. This is, according to the article and the work on it, led to a current condition of a very dispirited U.S. democracy. The article goes in and further identifies 3 additional factors, causal factors, contributing to that condition of a dispirited democracy. beginning with shadow. And shadow, that's Carl Jung's psychological shadow, can be defined as id and ego remaining unintegrated as a functional whole. I cite Deepak Chopra's in 2016, basically identified then running for president Trump as evidencing shadow. Shadow in turn and subsequently leads to a collective condition or state of illusion, and that is where the populace, not only of the United States at this point, but populations find themselves embedded within this illusion or false narrative. Ghazala Hashmi a year and a half ago.
Go ahead and give us a summary.
My purpose is primarily an invitation, one initially to read, and secondarily to that, to connect and collaborate. I'm just trying to be as proactive with a really complex scenario as I can be. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. McConnell.
Our next two speakers, Misty Vickers, followed by Patrice Hampton.
Afternoon, council, city manager, attorney, clerk, officer, citizens. Thanks for owning it with the Raven. Thanks for repealing it. Thanks for doing your right. But again, I want to echo what Dr. Cannot think right now, sorry. He mentioned, this is a reactionary. Same thing with Raven and the flock cameras. Those are all reactionary. You know that investing in our community, investing in our children's education is the path forward. So, anytime you want to revisit lines of your budget and actually invest in our children's public school system, my daughter would be greatly appreciative. In addition to this, we have submitted 2 months ago information regarding stricter guidelines for data centers in our area. I want to talk about trust. You guys brought up trust a couple times today. City manager sits on the Water Authority board, and a year ago almost in September, it was unanimous that they voted to accept funding from Google to research extra water areas that we could resource. If you understand anything about geography, we have regional water. That means we have a huge water table underneath us that we all share. That means that, I'm sorry, I've lost my trust when we accept money from Google to give them ultimately in the long run. That's 2 to 8 million gallons of our regional drinking water a day. My daughter needs drinking water. Our children and our grandchildren are going to need it. And I'm asking that, 2 of you are up for re-election. Everyone has a re-election coming up at some point. At the end of the day, you need to think about the long-term repercussions of this. You can make a statement. Montgomery County kind of showed how we can actually fight against things like the pipeline, right? The supervisors there made a statement against things, and it kind of stopped it in the tracks. At the end of the day, I hear that some of you actually are really for the data center, and it's sick and it's sad. My daughter deserves better leadership. You guys, you need to be thinking about this. It's water, we're in a drought. My water pressure's down, and I live in the city. I don't know how you can think about this as just being okay and hide behind your policies and hide behind your desks and hide behind your meetings. You are paid hundreds of thousands of dollars, some of you, and you know how to fight this. Our children's future relies on you doing what is right. Also, side piece, because I got to fit everything in 3 minutes, I would like for us to look at foraging to not be illegal in the city of Roanoke. This is my daughter. It's her future. We have many public trees that you can get apples from and berries from, and it shouldn't be illegal to forage in the city of Roanoke. And so I've spoke with Vice Mayor McGuire, and I'd like to speak with other members of council in making amendments to make it legal to forage in our city for our community.
Thank you. Sampson. Welcome.
Good evening, everyone, manager, council. I just want to first start by saying congratulations. We're ninth time certified Welcome to City, and I'm very proud of my city. I love my city, and this is great news. You all are doing what you say you're going to do. And you, sir, thank you for Loudon Park, because I see the construction on Loudon Park. And city manager, thank you, ma'am, for the transparency, because I go to a church and one of those sensors is right outside the church. And my pastor was like, they have a sensor and our address wasn't on the list. So thank you. He was the city manager before. His name is Roman. He was absolutely the ex-chief of police. So thank you for the transparency. And thank you, everyone, for city council. I love my city, and you all look beautiful. You really do. And y'all have a great day.
Thank you, Ms. Hampton.
Thank you. The last speaker is Catherine Hatnam.
Welcome. Thank you for being here.
Alrighty, guys. So for the benefit of those of you who don't know me, hi to everybody that I do know. Thank you for being here, and thank you for the good work you're doing. Your commitment to transparency, your jobs is evident today. I got a little emotional hearing you guys talk about that, so thank you. Once again, my name is Catherine. I grew up in Botetourt, but I am a proud Roanoke City grad. And I am coming to you today in a time of extreme drought. And I'm sure all of you guys know that. The speakers before me have talked about that at length. I am coming specifically because you guys can help do something about it. Thank you so much for your work on repealing your ordinance for Raven. Pretty please do flock next. We know that these things are all tied together to the extreme overuse of water, not only in our country, but in our world. That drought is not only countrywide, area-wide, worldwide. We are looking at the unprecedented global climate change that was mentioned in the hard work for our park staff who do everything they can to counteract that. We know the problem. We know that you can fix it. I know that it's hard, and you guys have a huge burden of getting things done at the same time as trying to do the right thing, but you've shown today that once you know better, you can do better. And those are the exact same things that we are facing with your influence on the Water Authority, as well as on zoning. I want to thank anybody from Planning and Zoning who's listening. They were able to meet with members of the Southwestern Virginia Data Center Transparency Alliance a few months ago to talk about more restrictive zoning things to help keep our community safe from the threat that is data centers. I know that several of you are against bringing data centers to the area, but I know that some people, both in our larger community as well as here, might be wooed by the big tech dollars and the promises that Flock and Raven make to make us safer. We all know that those aren't true. The data, pardon the term, the data's here. You know, it is not a new situation. Please exert any control that you have over these data center zoning restrictions. Please tell the Water Authority and Botetourt County that you're watching carefully and you want them to do better too. Because unfortunately, when people do the wrong thing, unlike you guys, sometimes they dig their heels in. I also want to tell anybody watching at home who is under the assumption that repealing Flock and Raven are soft on crime, that's not true. There are better ways to do these things. Let's find them together in ways that don't destroy the beautiful community that we have. How much money have we spent on our ecotourism to bring safe communities, to strengthen our communities? Let's keep doing that rather than continuing to superheat our world and to spend our water in ways that won't nurture our children. So thank you for what you've done. But the thing is, I need you to do a little bit more, please.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Thanks to everyone who came out and spoke today. We appreciate it. We're going to move now to item 4 on our agenda, which is the consent agenda. And all matters listed under this consent agenda are considered to be routine by members of council and will be enacted by one motion. There's generally no separate discussion of items, but if discussion is desired, items can be removed from the consent agenda and considered separately. So at this time, I'll ask for a motion and second on approval of the consent agenda.
Move the consent agenda.
Second.
Thank you, Council Members Hagan and Powers. Madam Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Ms. Powers? Mr. Hagan?
Aye.
Ms. Sanchez Jones? Vice Mayor McGuire?
Aye.
Mr. Nash?
Aye.
Mr. Volleson?
Aye.
And Mayor Cobb?
Aye. And the consent agenda is adopted. Thank you. Moving into our regular agenda, we have no public hearings or petitions and communications. So we'll move into our reports of city officers and our city manager. And we have 3 briefings this afternoon. And I will turn to our city manager, Ms. Turner, to introduce each briefing.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Our first briefing is our Opioid Abatement Authority funding update, and I'd like to introduce Ms. Emma Howard Woods, Opioid Response Project Coordinator, who will be presenting and updating on the city's Opioid Abatement Authority funding.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Cobb, Vice Mayor McGuire, members of council, Ms. Turner. So today, we are going to review the FY26 funds that we've had going on for the past year and do a primer on the 27 funds that we hope to have approved very shortly. You are being handed a sort of summary document with a 1-pager on everything that we've done in FY26, as well as a 1-pager for each of the programs that we funded in FY26, but we are going to go over some of that today as well. As a reminder, for those of us maybe who aren't familiar with opioid abatement, so the Virginia Opioid Abatement Authority was established in 2021 by the Virginia General Assembly as an independent entity to manage the abatement funds that are coming in through national settlements. So all of the funds that come in through the VOAA are from settling prescription manufacturers or those in the distribution network. So every year, additional funding is allocated directly to the city of Roanoke, as well as the competitive buckets that the VOAA manages that I will review on the next slide. And it's important to note that these funds do decrease over time, so we really do have to keep a balanced budget from year after year to make sure that we're able to provide services for the entire length of the grant. So you've probably seen this before. This is an overview of the way the settlement funds break down in Virginia. So 15% goes to the Commonwealth. This blue chunk is direct share, so you'll hear us refer to this as direct. So these are funds that are deposited directly to the city of Roanoke as a participating locality, no application required. So they're non-competitive for the city to use for abatement efforts regionally. And then Opioid Abatement Authority Fund for the remaining 55%. This is the competitive bucket. So when you've heard Helen and I speak on this before, this is what these funds are for. So 15% of that 55 is for projects for our intents and purposes that are only in Roanoke, that only applied through the city of Roanoke. And then there's also funding for collaborative partnerships with multiple localities, and then they've got state agency funding as well. This is really, really little, so I won't go into too much detail on it, but this is just a snapshot of what the estimated funds for the entire length of the opioid abatement program looks like. And if your eyes can work enough to zoom in, you will notice that the funding does decrease every year. You can see what we have obligated up to 2026. The 27 funds haven't been put into this funds lookup tool yet, but this is just an example of the direct, individual, and then gold standard funds that the city has available to us. So gold standard is an additional incentive that the city has signed on to receive that we can use for our programs. So you heard from me in January. We had our community organization submit competitive applications to us in December. We did an internal review and presented to you our recommendations for funding in January. After that, we submitted those final recommendations to the state for their competitive process. 2.5, 3 weeks ago, they took those to their grants committee and board and did vote to approve all of our 27 funds. So we're very excited about that. But this is just where we kind of stand. So there's a lot more detail in the handouts that you all have on this, but I just wanted to do a sort of highlight of the 26 programs that we have because it's easy to look at the names and the dollars and not really see the impact that it has on the community. So we had 2 individual programs in FY26. They were Blue Ridge Behavioral Healthcare, which put a peer recovery specialist in the Roanoke City Adult Detention Center, providing peer services to residents there. And this is also all as of May, so there's a little bit more data to add, but we just don't have it yet. So far, they've connected 172 residents to services, so that's amazing. And our other individual program was Family Service of Roanoke Valley, which provided teen education on resiliency and prevention in the city schools. So they hosted 367 top education sessions and reached over 300 kids. Four Truths Recovery is a cooperative project with Roanoke County, and they are a residential sober living for pregnant and postpartum women. They've had a lot of great successes this year, including increasing their resident capacity to hold up to 10 women and 5 babies. Continuing on with 26, we have our Navigator Care Specialist. So this is a position within DSS working with Roanoke County and Salem as well that promotes family reunification for those impacted by substance use disorders. They had some hiring challenges, but I'm very excited to say that they have accepted and onboarded their first Navigator Care Specialist position as of last week. So we're very excited to see them come on and see what they can do. The Roanoke Valley Collective Response works on creating the regional recovery ecosystem as a whole, and a big win for them this past year was adopting the 2026 Blueprint Action update. The Grove on Patterson, many of us have heard of, is a residential treatment facility for pregnant and postpartum women. Again, they've got a number of successes, but in the past year, they graduated 10 women within the first year, and they received the 2025 Governor's Award for Outstanding Community Organization. Last but certainly not least, we have the Virginia Harm Reduction Coalition, again cooperative with Roanoke County. They provide harm reduction services within the city and county. They reversed over 300 overdoses and distributed over 14,000 doses of naloxone. So this is just a snapshot of all of the funds, including our direct, our other locality direct, our individual, our cooperative, and our carry forward for FY26. I know this is a lot to throw at you, but this is just a summary. So for performance measures, there are over 60 individual performance measures set by the state. I've summarized them into these categories, and you can see what each organization proposed they could do and what they actually did. And we're very happy to say that they are over 10,000 services provided using OAA funds. Again, this is all as of May, and there is some delay in getting some of this data as well. So some of the data from May is from prior months as well. So as a primer for FY27, the state, like I said, the state has approved the awards. On the very tail end of last week, we got the last few award letters in from the state, so we're working internally to get those ready to send to you guys for approval, but this is what we can expect to see. So both of our individual projects have been renewed, so that is Blue Ridge Behavioral Healthcare and Family Service of Roanoke Valley. We do have a new individual program, which is Roanoke Area Ministries. So they are bridging the gap with opioid use treatment services in our homeless population. So we're going to have for our individual awards a total of $175,723. This is just for our individual. So these are projects that are only working within the city of Roanoke. I've got a couple of pages of cooperative, so hang with me here. We have 2 new programs in our cooperatives, and the rest of them have been renewed. So one of our new programs is the Bradley Free Clinic Support for the Hope Initiative. So this is a peer-led resource navigation helping people find and achieve sobriety. Four Truths Recovery, which is pregnant and postpartum recovery housing. The Navigator Care Specialist working within DSS. Our other new program is On Our Own of Roanoke Valley, which is a peer-to-peer resource center providing mental health and substance use disorder assistance and support. We've got the Roanoke Valley Collective Response, again with the regional recovery ecosystem, and the Grove on Patterson for residential treatment for pregnant and postpartum women. And the Virginia Harm Reduction Coalition doing harm reduction in the greater Roanoke Valley. So across all of the sources of funding, we have over $1.7 million in regional impact. We're really excited to see this come down. I will put a little mention here that carry forward due to the hiring challenges of the Navigator Care Specialist position, the majority of their FY26 funding is being carried forward. So that's not additional funding that's requested from the state. They're just using it this year since they've got the positions filled. So like I said, we just received the final documents at the very end of last week, so we are still working on getting everything lined up for you, but we should have an official budget presentation tentatively at the next council meetings. We're going to continue to work on updating our policies, making sure our 5-year budget is balanced, and preparing for the FY28 cycle, which seems way too early to be saying that, but that's what we've got for you. Can I answer any questions?
Thank you so much for that great update. Council members, questions or comments?
I have a,
Yeah, Mr. Volleson.
I love metrics. And so I was glad to see those metrics up there. I know that they're not completely accurate as of now, but as you guys go on, you will continue to use those to determine what programs are working and not? And
Yes. Yeah,
Yes.
we have recently started a monitoring program, so we do collect data monthly on all of our recipients, and we're getting a closer look at those as they happen, so we can take, any kind of action necessary that we need to help boost the programs that we have funded.
No, the data guy in me is looking at you. I'm sorry, Ms. Turner, but I wonder if there's any way for us to include that or think about including that in the future to our data dashboard
Sure.
that we're looking at
Yeah,
starting.
we can, definitely.
Yeah, thank you.
Vice Mayor.
I'll just say thank you, Ms. Woods. I appreciate the update. You know probably better than, definitely know better than I do, that's still a huge issue in our community. And we see it in different ways all the time. So thank you for all of your work in the update. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Council members.
I also want to just do a shout out to Bailey Maderos there in the back from the collector response, and thank you for all your work at the Regional Commission for this.
Yeah, we've got a couple of recipients and tentative recipients in the audience today, so we're happy to have them with us.
Everyone who's involved either with an agency or the collective response, stand up so that we can thank you and recognize you. Thank you all very much. I know earlier this summer, Roanoke hosted the Virginia Recovery Conference, which was, I think, the most comprehensive recovery conference in Virginia historically. And it brought in also, elected officials and city administration from localities all over. And it was really lovely and refreshing to hear the extraordinary work that's being done. And I think our collaborative persistence in understanding the realities of this work and why it's so important that we utilize this funding in the best ways possible to not only save lives, but to sustain people's lives in the best ways possible. So thank you for all that you're doing. We're so happy to have you as part of the city, and to all the partners out there, thank you all. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, ready for our second briefing, Ms. Turner.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to invite Mr. Desi Winter. He will be providing an update on the HUD Entitlement Fund's annual action plan for program year 2026. As we are in compliance with U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development regulations, the City of Roanoke has prepared this plan for the program year beginning July 1, 2026 and ending June 30th, 2027.
Welcome, Mr. Winter.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Mayor Cobb, Vice Mayor McGuire, and members of the City Council. The 2026-2027 HUD Annual Action Plan is being presented this afternoon for your review. For this presentation today, I will provide information on the following 6 subject categories: the 2026-2027 Annual Action Plan background and review, the citizen participation process, and the entitlement funds application process that consists of the following 3 funding sources: the Community Development Block Grant, CDBG, the Home Investment Program, HOME, the Emergency Shelter Grant, ESG. Let's get started with the 26-27 Annual Action Plan. Roanoke is an entitlement community according to HUD for the following federal programs: CDBG, HOME, and ESG. To comply with HUD regulations to receive the funds, Roanoke is required to prepare an annual action plan for the funding program year, which starts July 1, 2026 to June 30th, 2027. The 2026-2027 Annual Action Plan is a strategic plan for the implementation of the city's federal entitlement programs for housing, community services, economic development within the city of Roanoke. On April 6th of this year, we received verification from HUD of the city's entitlement funds allocation. For CDBG, the city will receive just over $1.8 million. The city will receive home funding in the amount of just over $575,000, and the city will receive ESG funding of $158,000. The total funding received is $2,557,000, $88.72. The next category of review is a citizen participation process, to which I'll go over very briefly the chronology of public meetings and input sessions. The HUD Annual Action Citizen Participation process usually begins each year in November. For the 26-27 program year, we started in January. The process for the 26-27 plan was scheduled later due to the amendment process for the 25-29 consolidated plan and 2025 annual action plan schedule. We started the amendment process first, as that was critical to meet the CDBG timeliness test deadline in May. We then piggybacked on that process by starting the 26-27 annual plan. Now I'll review the entitlement funds application process. For 26-27 funding, the city received 20 applications for CDBG, home, and ESG funding. Several of the same applicants applied for different funding sources. Of the 20 applications, only one applicant was not funded. Not all applications were funded at their funding application request. The 26-27 entitlement funds application process started March 12th, when applications became available. March 19th, we held an application how to apply to workshop. On April 20th, applications were submitted. That was the deadline. April 24th, staff reviewed the application. On June 12th, we started the 30-day comment period, and on July 17th, this ends the 30-day comment period. Next, I'll review funding received for CDBG. The following are the priority needs for the 26-27 CDBG program year: effective administration and planning, increased strategies to improve social services, create and maintain quality neighborhoods, create and maintain safe and accessible infrastructure, and improve the supply of affordable housing. For housing activities, the city is awarding Renovation Alliance owner-occupied housing rehab, $200,000. The City of Roanoke Office of Housing Lead Safe Roanoke program, $50,000. I almost said Richmond Redevelopment. Roanoke Redevelopment and Housing Authority, Hackley Sewer Lines Replacement, $174,000. And Homes for America, the Roanoke Gateway 2 project, $253,000, for a total of just over $678,000. For public service activities, we're awarding Bradley Free Clinic oral health access for the housing insecure, $80,000. Feeding Southwest Virginia Community Solutions Center, $25,000. Children's Trust Advocacy Center, $23,000. Family Services of Roanoke Block Counseling, $30,000. Children's Trust the CASA Program, $54,000. And the Council of Community Service Homeless Prevention, $57,000. And again, I'm for public facilities and improvements, the City of Roanoke Public Libraries, sidewalks of Plaza de Esperanza, $30,000. The Bradley Free Clinic, critical infrastructure improvements for community health access at $290,000. The City of Roanoke playground equipment replacement at $187,000, for a total of $507,000. The following is a summary of the CDBG allocation. Over $3.6 million was requested for $1.8 million of available funding. Okay, I'll talk about the home investment program, HOME. Home funding will produce and maintain affordable rental and homeownership housing for low-income and very low-income households. For the home budget, we received $575,000, of which $86,290 will be set aside for the Choto Community Housing Development Organization, Choto Reservation, Habitat for Humanity, $220,000, Restoration Housing, $211,000, Homes for America, $400,000, Home Administration, that's funding that the city does for the Administrative Home Program, at $57,000. Please note that the home allocation that we received was $575,000. However, the total home program that we're going to do this year is $975,000. $400,000 funded from prior year home allocations will be used for these programs. For the emergency shelter grant, the ESG program is designed to assist people with quickly regaining stability in permanent housing after experiencing a housing crisis. The ESG 2026-27 budget was $158,000, of which the Council of Community Service Homeless Prevention Program will receive $53,000. The Council of Community Services Rapid Rehousing Program will receive $25,000. The Council of Community Service Homeless Management Information System, $25,000. Family Promise of Roanoke Valley Emergency Shelter, $43,000. ESG administration for the city at $11,000. Next steps. July 17th will end the 30-day annual plan public display and comment period. We are scheduled to request approval from the City Council on July 20th for the plan. Upon approval, the 26-27 annual plan will be submitted to HUD on or before July 14th for approval and implementation shortly thereafter. Sorry, August 14th. What did I say, July? Sorry, August 14th.
Thank you, Mr. Winter.
One moment,
Okay.
Mayor Cobb. Just want to also sort of read this because this was the amount of comments that we received regarding the plan. So for 2026 will be the last year that the city will exclusively target most of the entitlement funding sources in the Belmont-Fallon neighborhood. We have requested a consulting firm to submit a proposal to study Gilmer, Harrison, Gainsborough for the next neighborhood revitalization strategy area, what we know as the NARSA. The study plan will engage community residents and stakeholders to get their input. We anticipate that at its conclusion, we will have a robust plan that we can provide to council for approval and eventual implementation. Our goal is to have the plan completed 9 months in anticipation of the 27-28 entitlement funding program year. That concludes my presentation, and I can entertain any questions that you may have.
Thank you, Mr. Winter. I appreciate that very thorough update. Ms. Powers.
Yes, can you tell me of the three programs, the CDBG, the home, and the
ESG?
Yes. How did you determine the amount of money that each one of these programs got? Was that based on an application process?
Yes, that was
And-
based on the application process that I described in the presentation. So each applicant, when they submit an application, they let us know how much funding they need. That is backed up by their budget, other sources that they may have, program requirements, and we take all of that into consideration for funding.
So do you look at last year to see what they did with the money they got last year, so there's some benchmarking to see how well they used the money from the past?
Yes, that's also taken into consideration.
And also, is there any kind of restrictions on any leftover monies that they don't use from last year? Does it carry over to them for this year?
For leftover funding for some programs, just depending on where they are funding-wise, we may decrease the amount of funding that they requested because they still have program funding that they're working with. Some of the other fundings are repurposed to other organizations who may not have requested more but could use more. So those are some of the kind of things that we look at in the totality of all the funding that was received, or what's balanced from the other organizations that's still on their balance books.
Questions? Mr. Nash?
So with the for the home funds and the 400,000 that was not used previous year, can you this is not my area of expertise. So can you explain why those funds are from a previous year and how they're stacking up on this year?
We have home funding from, I will say, starting from about for the last 4 years. Okay, and basically is that those funds haven't been programmed. I know, I think for last year, we were talking with the housing authority to do a program for one of the housing projects that they wanted to do, and it didn't receive tax credits. So that home funding also sat on our books for quite some time. So what we are now trying to do is to go back through the years to see what home fundings we have left and begin to actively pull those into programs, current programs that we're doing, in order that we can use up the funds as quickly as possible. Did I answer your question?
You did.
Okay.
Mr. Mayor, is it okay if I
Oh, yes,
add?
Ms. Turner.
If you remember, when we created this role for Mr. Winter position, it was to actually come in and clean up. And about this particular area, we had some serious challenges with adhering to the rules and regulations, which is why we not only brought in Mr. Winter, but also a consultant who is helping us go back and look into our system to make sure that every year that our funding is not only expended, but expended appropriately. And so that's part of what we're doing is cleaning up.
Thank you. Vice Mayor?
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Mr. Winter. I had a few questions. Can you remind me, there was, for the Gateway project that was mentioned in a couple of the slides, there was 400K from home and 253 from CDBG?
Correct.
I just can't remember. Can you refresh my memory? Was that part of the agreement from the beginning that we were going to fund that project over a period of years and provide allocations? Or is this new sources of funding that they're requesting to get that project finished? Because they were supposed to start work on that, I think, earlier this year, and it's been delayed. So can you just remind me, why are we giving them this? Was that part of the original agreement?
From my understanding, with this project, phase one is financially closed. They have the funding for phase one. This funding is for phase two. I don't know about a previous agreement. What they have done is they have submitted an application like everyone else. We evaluated their application based on its merits, and then awarded them funding also based on its merits. So it's the anticipation that with this combination of funding, that hopefully it'll make the project financially feasible and that they'll be able to implement the project.
I guess that's what I was just trying to clarify. It sounds like it wasn't clear to me that it was not financially feasible when they brought it to us and we voted for it. I'm just wondering if they hit a snag or something, or was it always part of their plan to come back and, I mean, because they're going to tie up $653,000 that, were we planning to have to use some of this federal money for that? I guess that's just what I'm not clear on, because I thought when it was presented to us that it wasn't clear to me that it wasn't kind of a financially feasible project.
When we looked at the performance that they presented, I understand that this was, like, we're not funding them based on the anticipated application. I think with any development project that goes through, the developer has the we'll have to look at their funding sources to see how they can make the project financially feasible. This is what we were able to provide for the developer. What they will now have to do back is go back and look through their performer to see how they can make the project financially feasible. If not, then we can revoke the funds and reallocate it somewhere else.
Okay. Did you want to pile onto that, Mr. Volleson?
Yeah, just that um, when we look at what that home project is, that is affordable housing. That is building units that typically takes a lot of money. And so, putting 400,000 into a project like this is not uncommon. It helps buy down the rate of each of those units so that they can. Didn't we get to see them for rezoning though?
I know the plans
Yeah.
have been approved through the planning department, yes, so the
I was
Yeah.
just
project
curious
is
because I
ready.
knew the project was supposed to have started and I wasn't sure what held it up. And I didn't know that they were going to come back to us and ask for this money. But I mean, I supported the project. I was just curious. So
And
thank
then
you.
again, this is for phase two, so
Yep.
they should have started or should start construction for phase one
Okay.
pretty
Gotcha.
soon.
My second question was under, I forget the slide number, but there was $187,000 for playground equipment.
Yes.
Can you tell me which playground?
I am working with the Parks and Rec Department, who are honored today, regarding which playground they would like to utilize that funding for. They had a recommendation of, I think, 3, and then we're going to sit down and say, okay, hey, this is the funding that we had based on the 3 that they had, and then decide which playground will then be funded with the funding sources. With the
Gotcha.
funding source.
I would just throw out in your conversations in case they don't bring this up or if they've forgotten, because someone brought up to me when we had a young man come and encourage us to fix up the playground at Highland Park Elementary. And I think we committed to doing that. I don't know this for certain, but someone pointed out to me that that was originally a cost share agreement between the schools and the city because that's a shared playground.
Okay.
And that historically there were other cost sharing agreements with other playgrounds that are shared, like at Fishburne Park Elementary, where there's also playground equipment that needs to be repaired.
Okay.
So I would just encourage you, if that's applicable or something to think about, that there may be, don't let the, encourage our schools friends to also, if there's a cost sharing history precedent, that maybe we could get them to help with some of
We can
these.
definitely look into that because we try to leverage your resources as much as we can.
Okay, yeah, thank you very much. I promise I'll be fast. 2 more quick questions. Can you kind of explain to me and some of the questions that we've been getting about, you referenced the change in the target neighborhood program and doing a study to look at Gilmore Harrison moving forward. So we changed course to not commit ourselves to do a target neighborhood program in Gilmore Harrison. So I guess one question is sort of what's the point of the study, or what are you hoping to find out through that if we aren't going to do the neighborhood target program as we have done it previously? And then the other question is, can you just clarify for me and the folks in Southeast who are asking, when we said that we were going to make Southeast whole, that there was federal funding that I think did not get spent in the Belmont-Fallon target area. And I think when that came before council, there was some language or commitments made about making the Southeast community whole. And I just wanted to get clarity around kind of what would that look like, or what are we thinking about?
Sure. So
I'll take those. Sorry. So, in response to your first question about the target area, it was my understanding and staff's understanding that these couple years when we were trying to go through and understand where we are financially, we did not have the capacity to create a plan for Gilmore Harrison because we had money that had been sitting that had to be spent. And we spent those dollars on eligible projects. And while in the process, we also met with representatives of the Gilmore community to talk about what it looks like in order for us to move forward. Now, when we bring a plan back to you, so we are going to do a plan because although there was no council action, I heard from council that those were promises that were made. So we bring a plan back. Our plan is going to be a plan where we can do programs and projects in that area, but not necessarily dump every dollar in that area. And I don't mean dump, but not expend all the dollars. So it'll have to be a bifurcation of how we do that.
So to your second question, as I stated, I had to do some research relative to the Belmont Fallon target area. And what we found is the money that should have been spent from CDBG, they switched it to ARPA. So they did, in fact, get all the money. And so we're working on, Ms. Ferguson and Ms. Harris are working on a report to council on our ARPA funds. And I can tell you that has been a task for staff, particularly because a lot of the individuals that work with the ARPA program are no longer here. So we are, yeah. Just to put that quite frankly. So we are working on bringing that to council because we're going to need for council to reallocate some dollars. But trying to figure out exactly how much that is what we're working on. But we did find that over $1 million, do you know the exact number that went to Belmont? I'm sorry, I don't have that number for you, but I can certainly get it for you. But they switched the funding source, so it was spent.
Well, thank you very much.
Yeah.
I think that
Yeah.
the community will, that's really good information
Yeah.
for them to have and know. And so thank you for that. And as you were able to kind of sort out more and get that report back to council, that would be great. And we'll
Absolutely.
work to get that out to the community.
Absolutely.
So thank you. I don't have any other questions. I appreciate it.
Okay, no problem.
I mean,
Mr. Nash and then Ms. Sanchez Jones.
I'll wait for the report, but just because I'm pretty confused about the Belmont CDBG fund whole situation. But weren't there projects that were supposed to be done in the area that didn't get completed? Or did all the project, like I understand they subbed the money, supposed to be CDBG, but a decision was made to use ARPA dollars.
Yeah, it was my understanding, and we're working on that all of the projects that were allocated were actually completed. I don't have that finalized yet, but certainly a large portion of the dollars, if not all of it, was expended.
Sanchez Jones.
Mr. Winter, do you know when the consultant is going to come into the Harrison-Gilmer area?
Can get them sooner. We anticipate hopefully getting the proposal this month and hopefully get them started by next month. We think it's going to be about a 9-month process, using most of the fall to do stakeholder and community engagement, and then in the early next year, put the plan together, run it by the citizens, make sure this is something that's implementable, measurable, has specific benchmarks that we can move forward with. The funding source over the number of years, and then bring it to council for consideration and approval.
I just wanted to bring something to your attention, and this concerns not only LGBTQ community, but any communities that are vulnerable to the whims of the federal government right now. But in April, HUD published a notice of proposed rulemaking, Equal Access to Housing and HUD Programs Revisions, and they were seeking to remove regulatory provisions that protect access to HUD shelter and housing programs regardless of sexual orientation or gender identity. The public comment period for that was open through June 29th, so that has concluded. I don't know that any action has been taken yet, but I wanted to make sure this was on our radar. This is a growing, there's a growing LGBTQ plus population that is experiencing homelessness and lack of access to shelter. And this includes the transgender community, but I would say this would be true of any vulnerable population that may experience difference in our nation. And I think to really think about our alignment as an all-America city, as a certified welcoming city, for us to really pay close attention to these things, because I would suspect that some similar actions are taking place related to immigrants and refugees. And I just want to make sure that where we can, we're standing up to make sure that we can provide appropriate shelter and housing for anyone in Roanoke that needs it.
Definitely.
Other comments by council on this briefing? All right. Thank you, Mr. Winter.
Thank you.
We
Appreciate it.
it.
And Mr. Mayor, our last briefing for this month, this afternoon, excuse me, is from Ms. Harris, who will provide our May 2026 budget update.
Welcome, Ms. Harris.
Good afternoon, Mayor Cobb, Vice Mayor, members of council, Ms. Turner. This report presents the monthly financial results for month ending May 2026. Beginning with our revenues, overall, local tax revenue continues to reflect strong performance in the following revenue sources: real estate, public service tax, penalties and interest, business license, all which are meeting or exceeding the budget expectations. Sales tax collections are trending positively, increasing by approximately $500,000 compared to the same period last year. Personal property tax collections are currently at 65% of the annual budget. However, this is expected at this point in the fiscal year, as the majority of the payments are received in June following the tax due date. Non-local tax revenues are tracking in line with prior year collections. Compared to the adopted budget, several revenue categories are below the budget. Again, this is due to timing of receipts, and the primary timing differences is in grants and aid Commonwealth. The next slide presents prepared food and beverage base sales alongside prepared food and beverage tax revenue collected. This month's report includes an updated format with the 3 new columns added to compare current year prepared food and beverage tax revenue collections with prior year and to show year-over-year variance. Overall, there is growth in base sales.
Can I pause you right there for just a minute? I wanted to reiterate to council that this does reflect base sales. It doesn't necessarily reflect bottom line for food and beverage providers. So as we're thinking about these things, that's just something to keep in mind. These are the reported sales and taxes and fees being paid. So I just wanted to make sure we understand that distinction.
May I also add, it looks to me, based on the data that we see here, that in February we see the base sales going down. Just a general, it looks like the war in Iran has more impact on what's been going on at the restaurant level than necessarily our taxes.
I think that both that and tariffs are continuing to have a pretty profound effect on the cost of things. Just as these businesses are trying to support their employees and not raise their costs too high, they're trying to balance that. So there are a lot of things to consider in the complexity of this, and I know that's not solely the focus of this report, but I think it's helpful for us to have as holistic a picture as we can. Yeah, sorry. Thank you, Ms.
no
Harris. Sorry about that.
The next slide continues to show the prepared food and beverage timeliness discount. Overall, majority of restaurants continue to submit their prepared food and beverage tax returns on time.
And on this, I wanted to share that I recently got a report from the Commissioner of Revenue's office, and I think at the end of April, 447 food and beverage, whether they're restaurants or just have food and beverage that pay this, had filed on time, and 423 were taking full advantage of the discount, which is a very high percentage. So I think that's a good data point for us to have. Thank you for letting me interrupt you again. Sorry.
No worries. The city continues to make steady progress in addressing deferred maintenance projects. Current expenditures for elevator replacements is at $1.8 million, and current expenditures for HVAC, mechanical, electric upgrades are at $1.4. Finance will continue to maintain detailed expenditure tracking.
Ms. Turner, do we have any updates on this? I know with the elevators, we had to pay up front, and I know we've had some challenges with the contracted company. That may be an understatement.
I was going to say that's an understatement. Mr. Campbell and his team have been working on this. I can give you an update. I'll send an email out to council and we'll get where we are with each one of those projects.
Thank you.
General fund expenditures are approximately tracking at 84% of the annual budget. Year-to-date expenditures is 0.4% higher than the same period in the fiscal year 2025. Expenditures are expected to remain in line with the budgeted amounts. Overtime wages have exceeded the annual budget, largely again driven to snow removal operations and staffing limitations in some departments. Please note this slide has been updated to align with the format used throughout the presentation, which now presents FY25 information followed by FY26 information. An overall temp wage budget is on target and has not exceeded the overall budget. Departments may have exceeded the budget amount, but this will be offset by salary vacancies. This concludes my report.
Thank you. Additional questions? Oh, hands up everywhere. Ms. Powers.
So can you tell me where we are with the ARPA funds? I know that you were trying to do a reconciliation on that, and that has to be expended by the end of this year. Where are we with that, and are we on target to get that completed by December 31st?
So we are working through that. We are on target, and we are currently meeting with the departments to explain to them what the remaining funds are and where they are on the projects.
So hopefully soon we will know if there are any funds available left that we could use for anything else.
That's correct. We're working on the reconciliation now and we'll be bringing it back because we'll need you to help reallocate if it's more than 25%.
Yes.
I just wanted to thank you for adding the 2025 to this, because then you can see the real change that's happening with expenditures. I mean, just looking at, overtime wages, you have, let's see, fire was 662% over of budget, and this year it's 115. That's a huge change. And so I want to commend the administration for that.
What I was going to say was kind of to the same degree. And, when you look at the overtime here last year, we're talking about 5.2 million in overtime. And yeah, we're over overtime, pun intended. But, this year we're looking at 1.2, right? 1.7. So, still work to do, but work in a positive direction. And I think it would be great if we could get once the year, we have all 12 months kind of concluded on this financial report, get a year high-level summary with some easy-to-digest graphs and metrics just to kind of show the citizens, the public, some of the progress we're making. And although it might not be perfect yet, and we still have a lot of work to do, that things are heading in the right direction overall.
We can do that.
Other questions? Thank you, Ms. Harris.
Thank you.
We appreciate it.
Thank you.
We'll move now into our items recommended for action. And item A is the acceptance and appropriation of project outside grant funding for Brushy Mountain. We have one measure and ordinance. I'll entertain a motion and second.
Move the ordinance. Second.
Thank you, council members Hagan and Volleson. And Madam Clerk, will you please read the title paragraph?
An ordinance authorizing the acceptance of the project outside grant made to the city of Roanoke by the Roanoke Outside Foundation to repair the Brushy Mountain Fire Road within the Carvins Cove natural area, authorizing the execution of any required documents on behalf of the city, appropriating funds detailed more fully infra, and dispensing with the second reading of this ordinance by title.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Ms. Turner, anything to add to this?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. The grant funding will be used to replace culverts, regrade the road, and stabilize areas damaged by flash flooding, improving access for recreational users, trail maintenance staff, and emergency responders. We are greatly appreciative of the Roanoke Outside Foundation for its continued support and investment in enhancing our community's outdoor recreation areas.
Any question or discussion from council?
I would thank Project Outside. Thank you, Mayor, for the money. Yeah,
Very
I
grateful.
appreciate that.
It's a great partnership. All right, Madam Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Ms. Powers?
Aye.
Mr. Hagan?
Aye.
Ms. Sanchez Jones?
Aye.
Vice Mayor McGuire?
Aye.
Mr. Nash?
Aye.
Mr. Volleson?
Aye.
Mayor Cobb?
Aye, and the ordinance is adopted. Item B is the execution of Amendment Number 3 to the city's contract with Renovation Alliance for the Healthy Homes Roanoke to provide rehabilitation and limited repairs to homes located in the city of Roanoke. We have one measure, a resolution, and I'll entertain a motion and second on the resolution. Council members Powers and Sanchez Jones. Madam Clerk, will you please read the title paragraph?
A resolution authorizing the city manager to execute Amendment Number 3 to the City of Roanoke's contract with Renovation Alliance dated March 23rd, 2023, to increase the funding provided by the City of Roanoke to Renovation Alliance to complete rehabilitation and limited repairs to homes throughout the city under the Healthy Homes Program, and authorizing the city manager or designee to take such actions and execute such documents in connection with Amendment Number 3.
Thank you. Ms. Turner.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. This contract amendment increases the contract by $203,000 for a total contract of $660,500 under the Healthy Homes Roanoke program. This additional HUD-funded support will allow Renovation Alliance to expand its capacity to complete home rehabilitation projects that address health and safety hazards, helping ensure more Roanoke residents have safe and healthy homes.
Thank you. Any questions? Mr. Volleson.
I want to thank the Renovation Alliance for their great work in this field. There's a lot of homes in our city that are getting older every day, and this really helps a lot of our citizens stay in the homes that they're in. So I really appreciate the work that y'all do. Thank you.
And I want to acknowledge Ms. Dina Imbriani, who is the new executive director at Renovation Alliance. Thank you for being with us today. And this new young recruit you have to your left on your board, Annette Lewis, it's always great to see you. Thank you for being here. All right, Madam Clerk, I think we're ready to call the roll.
Ms. Powers?
Aye.
Mr. Hagan?
Aye.
Ms. Sanchez Jones?
Aye.
Vice Mayor McGuire?
Aye.
Mr. Nash?
Aye.
Mr. Volleson?
Aye.
And Mayor Cobb?
Aye, and the resolution is adopted. Thank you all. All right, now turn to our city manager, Ms. Turner, for your comments. And I think I know what one of them is.
Just thought you want to see it. Mayor, Vice Mayor, and members of City Council, I am excited to officially announce that Roanoke is a 9-time All-America city. The All-America City Award consists of a written application and an in-person presentation focused on 3 distinctive projects relating to strengthening civic health and building trust. The 3 projects we highlighted this year were Roanoke's Homelessness Response, the Grant Ready Roanoke Program, and Arts Connect Neighbors. A delegation of 7 city staff and community members represented Roanoke at the competition. Community engagement manager Adam Fadaro led the effort. Also, he was joined by City Councilwoman Vivian Sanchez Jones, Grant Manager Helen Ferguson, Human Services Administrator Matthew Cruikshank, and Police Officer Jacob Underwood. Additionally, Renee Taylor, founder of Fed Up, and Robin Mitchell, an Arts Connect catalog artist, joined the delegation. 20 finalist cities from across the country competed in this year's All-America City Award, and there were 10 winners. Additionally, the All-American City Director noted that this year's competition was one of the fiercest she's seen in 8 years in the organization's history. About half of the cities sent delegations of over 20 people. The biggest had over 50. Roanoke had 7.
65.
65. Compared to more elaborate presentations, Roanoke shined through authentic storytelling and a collaborative art project that involved other All-America cities. Our 3 programs earned the national recognition because the panel of judges saw that Roanoke is strengthening our community and building trust with the people we serve. So this is our award. I don't. Some of our members were here earlier, but I think they left. Yeah. This is our award. We are very, very excited. Again, if you have not had the opportunity to watch the presentation, it was phenomenal. They asked some really good questions at the end that our team was able to answer from their heart about how they feel about Roanoke, the things that we're doing here, and the impact that we're making. So I'm excited. So that's my first comment.
So for those who are here that were able to go, would you please stand so that we can thank you and recognize you?
My second comment, and we've heard a lot about this today. Today, our Office of Communication and Community Engagement will kick off the Water Matters to Roanoke Water Conservation Campaign in coordination with the Western Virginia Water Authority. The campaign will raise awareness about Roanoke's water resources and the conditions under which the Western Virginia Water Authority may implement water restrictions. We're going to educate residents and encourage responsible water use. We're going to ensure that we align ourselves with the water waste content. We're going to explain the West Virginia Water Authority Drought Contingency Plan, and we're going to prepare Roanokers for a seamless transition to voluntary and mandatory restriction campaigns if implemented. So again, beginning today, the community engagement will amplify its useful, clear, and actionable content, including weekly water level updates and water conservation tips across city social media platforms, website homepage banners, RVTV Channel 3, internal and external newsletters, and local news. In the event that the West Virginia Water Authority implements a drought contingency plan, community engagement will initiate amplification of the Western Virginia Water Authority's water restriction campaign. And my third comment is the downtown Kirk Avenue Drainage Improvement Project is substantially complete, with the final pavement markings currently being finished. The project upgraded and expanded the stormwater drainage system along Kirk Avenue to improve stormwater collection, reduce localized flooding, and enhance drainage in the downtown corridor. Throughout construction, Public Works worked closely with the downtown businesses and community partners to maintain access and minimize disruptions for visitors, employees, and customers. And my final comment is I'd like to thank all of our internal and external partners that participated in the planning, building, and zoning development tabletop exercise last week. It was a phenomenal event that allowed both our external and our internal partners to get together, have candid conversations, and we hope to have the final assessment to council within a week or two. So those conclude my comments for today.
Thank you, Ms. Turner. We're going to move now to our reports of committees. And before we move into these 2 items regarding Roanoke City School Board appropriations, I'm going to ask 2 of our colleagues to share some statements.
Well, I would love to go first, but I gotta find here we go. Thank you. I, Stephen Terry McGuire, state that I have a personal interest in item numbers 8.1 and 8.2 relating to the Roanoke City School Board appropriating funds for various educational programs and reappropriating prior year funding. Because I am an employee of Roanoke City Public Schools and as an employee, I have a personal interest in this transaction. Therefore, in accordance with Virginia Code Section 2.2-3112, I will refrain from participation in this matter. I ask that the clerk accept this statement and ask that it be made a part of the minutes of this meeting.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Councilwoman Sanchez Jones.
I, Vivian Sanchez Jones, state that I have a personal interest in items number 8.1 and 8.2 relating to the Roanoke City School Board appropriation of funds for various educational programs and reappropriating prior year funding. Because I am an employee of Roanoke City Public Schools, and as an employee, I have a personal interest in this transaction. Therefore, in accordance with Virginia Code Section 2.2-3112, I will refrain from participating in this matter. I ask that the clerk accept this statement and ask that it be made part of the minutes for this meeting.
Now turn to item 1, a report of the Roanoke City School Board requesting appropriation of funds for various educational programs, and a report of the city manager recommending that city council concur in the request. We do have one measure, a budget ordinance, and I'll entertain a motion in second.
The ordinance? Second.
Thank you, council members Hagan and Nash. Madam Clerk, will you please read the title paragraph?
An ordinance to appropriate funding from the Commonwealth, federal, and private grant for various educational programs, amending and reordaining certain sections of the 2026-2027 school grant fund appropriations for fiscal year 2027, and dispensing with the second reading by title of this ordinance.
Any discussion from council? All right, Madam Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Powers?
Aye.
Mr. Hagan?
Aye.
Mr. Nash?
Aye.
Mr. Volleson?
Aye.
Mayor Cobb?
Aye, and the budget ordinance is adopted. Second item is a request to the Roanoke City School Board to reappropriate $4.3 million in prior year funding for capital needs expenditures. There's one measure, a budget ordinance, and I'll entertain a motion and second on the budget ordinance.
Move the ordinance.
Thank you, council members Volleson and Hagan. Madam Clerk, will you please read the title paragraph?
An ordinance to further reappropriate prior year city funding of schools for capital needs, amending and reordaining certain sections of the 2025 through 2026 school grant fund appropriations, and dispensing with the second reading by title of this ordinance.
Thank you. Any discussion by members of council?
I would just like to say I saw Chair Apel here and know she had to step out, but I appreciate the thoughtfulness that they put into thinking about how to use those funds. I know that me and my former school board buddy Eli Jameson talked about it a few times over the phone, and so I just appreciate their thoughtfulness with this particular matter.
Concur with that. Thank you. We're still.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you were done.
Right. Any other discussion?
I agree.
She was
with-
so excited to get back in here. Yeah. Ms. Powers.
I would say, Councilman Nash, that they provided information to us with how they would use the funds since they weren't going to be doing the cottages. And I know this has been a hard decision for everybody, so I'm glad we can work this out to help the schools out this year.
Thank you. All right. Madam Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Ms. Powers? Mr. Hagan?
Aye.
Mr. Nash?
Aye.
Mr. Volleson?
Aye.
And Mayor Cobb?
Aye, and the budget ordinance is adopted.
Now they can come back.
Thank you. Welcome back.
Thank you, sir.
All right, we're going to continue, and I know the Vice Mayor will join us shortly. Item 3 are comments on certain authorities, boards, committees, and commissions in which city council members serve as liaisons or appointees. Do we have any liaison reports? We'll move on. We have no unfinished business. Oh, you have something?
I wanted to share about the trip to Denver. I was really proud of how many people came to us wanting to know more information about Fed Up, our START Initiative program, and about Grant Ready Roanoke. I mean, I was really proud of that moment, and everybody that went with us, they did a great job. So I'm proud to be a Roanoker and proud to represent the city. So thank you, everybody, again.
Really glad that you were able to go and represent us. All right, we'll turn now to item 10, which is introduction and consideration of ordinances and resolutions. We have 2 for consideration this afternoon. The first is a resolution establishing a written policy for participation in city council meetings through electronic communication. I believe I'm correct that this is something we get to do every year and
Yes.
reaffirm, right?
Under FOIA law, we have to adopt it every year. This is just a renewal. There's no changes to the policy that's been in place for 5-6 years now.
I remember when we had to vote on this for the first time at the onset of COVID. So here we are. We have one measure, a resolution, and I'll entertain a motion and second on the resolution.
The resolution.
Second.
Thank you, Council Members Volleson and Powers. Madam Clerk, will you please read the title paragraph?
A resolution establishing a written policy for participation in the city council meetings through electronic communication.
Any discussion by members of council? Madam Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Ms. Powers?
Aye.
Mr. Hagan?
Aye.
Ms. Sanchez Jones?
Aye.
Vice Mayor McGuire?
Aye.
Mr. Nash?
Aye.
Mr. Volleson?
Aye.
And Mayor Cobb.
Aye, and the resolution is adopted. Second item is an ordinance to readopt and reenact the code of the city of Roanoke as amended, and I believe this is also something that we do on an annual basis. Anything of note?
No, it just incorporates all the state code changes that were made into our code as if it was reinstated.
Thank you. I will entertain a motion and second on this ordinance. Go ahead.
Move the ordinance.
Thank you, Councilmembers Hagan and Powers. Madam Clerk, will you please read the title paragraph?
An ordinance to readopt and reenact the code of the city of Roanoke as amended and dispensing with the second reading of this ordinance by title.
Thank you. Any discussion by members of council? Madam Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Ms. Powers?
Aye.
Mr. Hagan?
Aye.
Ms. Sanchez Jones?
Aye.
Vice Mayor McGuire?
Aye.
Mr. Nash?
Aye.
Mr. Volleson?
Aye.
Mayor Cobb.
Aye, and the ordinance is adopted. Item 11 is motions and miscellaneous business. Are there any inquiries or comments by members of council? Mr. Volleson.
Yes, I wanted to introduce the Market Street pedestrianization CMI. I know that has been sent out to everyone on the council previously, and was hoping we could discuss that this afternoon before we head out of here. Oh, I guess we're coming back at 7. I've submitted the CMI, which has obviously more information on it, but the purpose of this is the pedestrianization of Market Street and Wall Street in the city market area would create a safer, more vibrant, and economically competitive downtown destination. By prioritizing people over vehicles in Roanoke's most walkable district, the city can expand space for outdoor dining, community events, and public gatherings while improving safety and accessibility to residents and visitors. This investment would strengthen local business, enhance the historic character of the market area, and build on downtown success as a regional destination. The specific recommendations or requests of the CMI are to direct staff to permanently close Wall Street and Little Market Street adjacent to the city market building to vehicular traffic and create outdoor service areas for market building tenants and others adjoining properties. And the second is to direct staff to work with the city market building and downtown Roanoke Incorporated to pilot a program for closing down Market Street between Campbell Avenue and Church Avenue to vehicular traffic. The CMI was built with those folks in mind and with their, I don't want to say their blessing, but talked with them about this. So this is where we came on this idea of doing a pilot for the main part of Market Street where the vendors typically are. Thinking about what can we do in the evenings to close that down. If we do a designated outdoor refreshment area, how can that also help with the Market Street vibrancy downtown? So that's what we're looking at, is how can we make there more outdoor dining and make it more of a place for people to come and enjoy and not have to worry about traffic coming in between them.
All right, thank you, Mr. Volleson. Questions or comments from members of council? This is general. CMIs are generally something that we send to the manager for review, impacts, implication, costs, to bring back a report to us. If it's something that we have some consensus around, now's the time to do that. But it's also a good time for questions.
So has this been brought to the businesses downtown? I mean, this is the first I've seen this other than what you sent out.
Yeah,
So I'm a little concerned of what downtown businesses would think of this.
Yeah, so that's why we talked with Downtown Roanoke Incorporated. And, their sense was that Little Wall and Little Main, sure, go ahead and close it because it allows for more outdoor dining and different ways to create more revenue for those places right along it. And I've talked to the parking, we're trying to put that into the parking study as well. So there has been discussion with different groups in downtown about this plan. I think the most effective people are the vendors that are there on Market Street. And that's why we went with a pilot program to test it out and to see what we can do with that space. Whereas the Wall Street and Little Market Street are
When you talk about the vendors, help me understand
the
this. Do
farming
you mean the
vendors.
farming?
Yeah.
But they're only there now, what, on Friday, Saturday, and that 2 days? Am I correct? Only 2 days now?
That might be correct, but the biggest issue that we've had with closing down that street is that vendors have typically raised concerns that they can't get their truck next to where they need to go and stuff like that. When it comes to Market Street itself, the majority of that use is actually you can ask Park Roanoke, but basically all that parking that's there next to it, that's where most of the employees that work at those businesses are parking. So it's not necessarily helping out with customers and bringing visitors into downtown. And by having that road go right through there, I mean, most of us have been to the market before. When you're in that area, you're walking around and you have to watch out for the random car or two that may come through that street. Considering that it's just a block, I don't think it's going to have huge traffic implications. It will have some parking implications on those employees, but I will also remind you that we have a service employee parking program so that they're not parking in those spots that should be taken up by
So along
visitors.
that corridor, the only people that would park would be the vendors that are selling their wares.
Correct.
So, there are certainly implications to this. There are a lot of implications. There are a lot of adjustments to traffic flow. Roanoke always embraces change immediately.
Thank you for that.
Yeah, sure. There are lots of, I think, conversations that need to be held. I know that we're due to, I think, get a report on the parking study at our first meeting in August, which will also be helpful. I would support exploring this to see what the realities and the potential for it might be. I think there's a lot more information that we need before we make any decisions. That's why, sending it to the manager to review, I think it's essential that we get a lot of input from downtown businesses and even pedestrians, people who are shopping. Because right now, if we close even Little Wall and Little Market, which are one-way streets either way, that's going to create some interesting dynamics with traffic flow. and parking access. So all those things are part of the consideration. Mr. Hagan?
Yeah, so I just have a couple of questions. When you say Little Market Street, you're talking about where like Wasabi's is, or are you talking about where like I don't recall the name of the new restaurant, but Awful Arthur's used to be.
Yes.
Okay,
That's
you're talking
Little
about
Market.
that.
And then I say market between Campbell and Church.
Okay,
which is
so
part in Wasabi.
have you talked with, I know you mentioned that you talked with Downtown Roanoke Inc., but like we're talking about vendors that are actually have a lot of goods and services that need to
Yes, I talked
transport.
to vendors.
So Azars, you have the Hatch, you have Three Notched, the Bodega, Scrambled.
So those would be people that we would be, again, this is a beginning of a process. I have talked with the major stakeholders, and there has been nothing but positive.
Major stakeholders being Downtown Roanoke Inc.
Downtown Roanoke Inc., Park Roanoke. I've also spoken with vendors. I've also spoken with restaurateurs that are down there, and they have all had positive reaction to it. So this is not saying that we're going to do this tomorrow. What this is asking is for the city manager to look at it to see if it's a feasible thing to do, which I believe it is, and I believe that those stakeholders will have the same idea.
Restaurateurs and vendors, because I just listed those ones there, and you said you talked to the major stakeholders.
I mean, I've talked to the what's it called, the City Market Building Association that owns the City Market Building. So I don't have a list of every person I've talked to, but I do know the major organizations and then those that I've gone and talked to on the actual Market Street, like going around and talking to them.
Okay.
All right, other questions?
Mayor, I have a
Yes, Vice
comment.
Mayor.
Thank you. I support some of this in concept, but I would not be comfortable moving forward with it right now. And you may know, Mr. Volleson, I drafted a similar CMI back in January, which I'd be glad to share with you when we were getting an update from Mr. Campbell about the issues that his department was having with events policies. And I drafted a CMI to look at exactly that. So I could be supportive of that. I guess a couple questions. One piece, I would be more comfortable with something that instead of directing staff to close down these streets, that it, to the mayor's point, ask staff to look at that, into the feasibility I'm not done yet, thank you, to do some outreach. I think that would be appropriate before, or instead of saying we are directing staff to shut down these streets. I am concerned, like Councilman Hagan, that there hasn't been enough outreach. So I would be more comfortable if we could just do some of that due diligence first, because I actually, when I was drafting the CMI in January, I did talk to some of the business owners, and I actually heard from folks on that Market Street that abuts the farmers market that they would not be. Specifically, Jack Brown's was very opposed to closing that street.
Yep.
And so I just would like to see us do some more outreach. I actually do think it would be helpful to have that, list of who's been spoken to, who you've talked to, so that we might also want to, follow behind. And some of these folks we may know ourselves. So I would be supportive of this in the future, but I wouldn't be supportive of moving forward today.
So when I'm talking about directing staff, I apologize because the recommendation says specific action requested. And so I went to what is the last step, not, the study and all that. I knew that this CMI was going to go in and it gets studied and everything by the administration. I'm not literally saying, go do this tomorrow. It's saying, hey, this is what I would like to see done in the future, is that these two small streets get pedestrianized and that we pilot this Market Street. And I'm aware of Jack Brown's issues with it, and it mainly comes down to parking for their employees. And that's not something that the city is in charge of.
Other comments? Or
I just have a question.
Yeah,
for
Ms. Sanchez.
Ms. Turner. Ms. Turner, if we close those streets, would it help the business owners now that with the new federal regulations that they cannot use the sidewalk? Will that increase the capacity for them to have tables out
in front of the restaurant?
Right now, I don't know. We haven't done any type of analysis whatsoever. So
Yeah.
it would take us some time to do that. And so, while I have the mic, the the challenge is staff capacity. So what if you give this to me via consensus, I'll probably talk to the team and we'll figure out how we could, maybe bring in a consultant to do the analysis, to do the community engagement. Um, because we are really kind of spent. If you remember when I created the council member initiative, what I stated was, if we get too many, I'll package it up, bring it back to you, and kind of outline what we could and could not do, or kind of give a timeline on when we can start some things. So if this is something that you need for staff to do immediately, we don't have the capacity to do it right now. And it would be something that I would have to put off for some time. But we're happy to do as directed by council.
Mr. Hagan.
So I'm not saying it's a bad idea. But given the fact that we have the parking study happening, we'll get briefed on that on August 3rd, I might suggest that we delay until after that that presentation before council. Because if it comes and because we don't know what the parking study is going to say yet, if it says that we have we don't have enough parking, this raises, to your point about the concerns that they would have in front. I'm hoping that that is not what they say, but I recognize that I don't know until then.
Yes, I agree that the parking study is something that's important,
Yeah.
an important aspect of it, but I don't think it's necessarily something we have to wait for. I think it's something to be that this would be an integration, a piece of whether or not we do this. Because, like you said, we've had to talk to other vendors and all that stuff. And so I would like to get the process started. I'm not saying that we do this tomorrow. I'm not saying that it's done in the next couple of months. I'm saying that we start this process. I've been waiting for a while to put in this CMI because of other CMIs. And those have taken some time. And so I understand that it's not going to be done overnight. I understand that it takes a lot of buy-in and talking to the community. That's typically how things get done. And so I'm not asking you to do this tomorrow. I'm not asking for, what I'm asking is this a relatively good idea, which I do think it is after talking with folks. And, if the city manager comes back and says, hey, that's great. I'm glad you have this CMI. There might be another CMI that one of y'all puts up soon and it gets packaged like it was done with the zoning amendments was. But I want the CMI to be on the record instead of having to sit in my brain all the time.
Thank you. And it's definitely on the record. Yeah.
I was going to say, if council wants us to look at this from a staff perspective and kind of maybe do some broader outline of what we think it would take in order to even move it forward, we can bring that back to you.
That I think is a step we could
Okay.
take. I would also, Vice Mayor, if you could share your
Yes.
together, could be really helpful. There may be some crossover as well as some uniqueness to each. I think that would. Then you could bring back a report, and before we fully launch anything on this, and then that will also allow us to hear from the parking study on the 3rd, and then if we want to take it. All right, we're going to move now to vacancies, and we only have a couple.
I have one question.
Oh,
I wanted to
yes.
ask real quick.
Mr. Nash.
I was at the barber shop, and there was a citizen that had heard about Grant Ready Roanoke, and he has a nonprofit that he runs where he does community based violence intervention, and he works with the youth and does a lot of mentorship and combines it with physical fitness and sports and athletic training and things of that such. And he was asking about, how like the whole grants process and like how does he become compatible when we have grant opportunities that present themselves, how does he go through the whole process? And I had told him about Helen and the
Yep,
work
Ms.
that she
Ferguson.
does. So my question was, when is the next Grant Ready Roanoke cohort. And one, I would like to share that information with him, but then also to make sure that we're getting more to the grassroots level of putting it out there with who can be involved, and making sure that we're really, really, really working with our news to really put that information out there, in order to make sure that the community knows.
I'll follow back up with you, Ms. Ferguson had to step out, but I'll follow back up with you, and council as a whole on when is the timeline.
Thank you.
Mayor, I do have something.
It's
I
ours.
almost forgot.
That's all
I
right.
just want to ask the question. I know all of us have been getting a lot of emails this past week or a couple of weeks about things going on in Southeast. Does the city administration get that? Have you gotten any of those emails?
A lot of them have been on social media and emails, I think related, and messaging, Facebook Messenger related
Yes.
to, I suspect a lot of, well, some of the concerns I'm aware of are just ongoing issues related to substance use disorder and incidents.
Theft. I know the ones that I got, and I can share those with you, were where, they're having to lock up like their chairs on their front porch. They can't have, solar lights in their yard. They're being taken up. I have a picture of, where they sent it to me this weekend of a person that was literally passed out on the street.
Send that to me.
Yeah, so I don't really know what to do with those when I get them, because it's not any, it's more of a police matter. And, I do know they are calling fire EMS. They called EMS for the person that was on the sidewalk. But, basically, they're telling me they don't think they're getting, I mean, they said they have called the police, but they don't feel like they're getting anything. But
Thank
I
you.
think,
If you could share that with me.
I think you're going to see them start coming to talk to us. Coming here
Well,
to talk.
And it might be helpful to talk with the police about, I know they do regular walkabouts. The chief does. It might be good to specify a couple of these areas where we're seeing higher density. I know that, organizations like the Virginia Harm Reduction Coalition will work collaboratively with neighbors and businesses and nonprofits if there are cleanups that need to be done, education. I know that these challenges seem a lot more intense in Southeast right now, and so I think some focused attention there is. And then I would say to all of us, when we receive those, just send them to both the city manager and the assistant city managers, so that they have access to that information. And something I try and do as well, if I know that these are like connected with substance use issues, I usually try and loop in the Virginia Harm Reduction Coalition as well as the Drop-In Center through the Council of Community Services to help remediate or mitigate some of that on the
I
front
gave
end.
them that information too. So I think they just feel like they need a little more enforcement, because apparently they have talked to those organizations. And I actually have this, I'll have to go back through my messenger email, but I do have the addresses. I can get all that stuff to you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Others? All right. Now, I think we're ready for our short list of appointments.
All right, thank you, Mayor. Very short. At our previous meeting, council appointed Ms. Aquanetta Harris to a number of boards, and just want to clarify that she will need a residency waiver. And then our big news for today will be that to the City of Roanoke Finance Board, council has appointed Darlene Burcham. And that's it for today.
All right, if you concur with these nominees, when the clerk calls the roll, just say all nominees. All right. Madam Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Ms. Powers.
All nominees?
Mr. Hagan.
All nominees.
Ms. Sanchez Jones.
All nominees.
Vice Mayor McGuire.
All nominees.
Mr. Nash.
All nominees.
Mr. Volleson. And Mayor Cobb.
All nominees. Thank you. So we will now stand in recess, and we will reconvene this evening at 7:00 p.m. in this chamber for the continuation of the May 18th, 2026 public hearing with regard to a request of the City of Roanoke to propose amendments to Chapter 36.2 zoning of the Code of the City of Roanoke as amended. Thank you all.